All right, everybody. Welcome to the Nick Biddle Life and Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Biddle. I am here with the founder of Iron Thread Consulting, Mr. Carl Britton Jr. And you are probably listening to this on Apple or Spotify or one of the many places where you listen to a podcast. But these are now also available on YouTube. And so if you're not watching this, you can go to YouTube, and I'm not even sure how you get to my YouTube page. Carl, do you know? I know you've been to it before.
Well, I think it's just the Nick Biddle on
I think
YouTube.
it is Nick
Give that a
Biddle.
Google.
Yeah, Google it. But we're starting to put all of our podcasts on video, and so you can watch along, and please comment and like and share or whatever that takes. I really don't know, but appreciate you guys being with us today. But we're going to jump into a conversation with Mr. Carl Britton Jr. about how AI can revolutionize how you do work on and off the job. You know, I don't have a bio for you. I probably should have done that. But you got a construction background.
Yep.
You've owned your own company most of your life.
Mhm.
You're currently doing workshops in the trades on AI and how to implement AI into the everyday business that the project managers and leaders um, are dealing with every single day. But what else? I mean, you're a family man. You're married. You got kids. How many kids you got?
I got three kiddos. You know that we have a wide range. We got a 17, a 9, and a 4-year-old. So it looks like I'm
You're
going to be
busy.
working until I'm going to be working until I'm at least 106.
That's right. That's good. That's good. Well, what else you gonna do? What else
I
you
know,
gonna
right?
do? But well, let's just jump right into this. And so, I mean, we've known each other for a while, and I've gone all over the country working with contractors in our industry, and I'm hearing your name a lot on the road.
Oh,
I'm
all
hearing
right.
your name a lot. You know, most of it's good, but I wanted to just have you on so that you could share with the audience kind of maybe you could clear up some misconceptions of what AI is and what it looks like in our industry
Mhm.
and how your clients are using it and how we shouldn't use it. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into this, and what you're seeing in the market right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, you know, many years ago, I got started in construction like a lot of other people. You know, I had a family member who had a construction company and I needed a job when I was young. And so there I was, pouring residential flat work concrete, dragging mud when it was 110 degrees in Oklahoma. Right.
Is
And,
there any harder job than concrete work?
maybe roofing, but
Okay.
definitely those are going to be pretty close.
Yeah.
So I'm dragging concrete and and that was the sign. Hey, you know what? Why don't you stay in school? So that's what kept me going to college. Fast forward a little bit, 2013, my house gets hit by a tornado in Oklahoma, in Moore, Oklahoma, which if you are going to get hit by a tornado, get hit by a tornado in Moore because they have it figured out because they get hit all the time. So it's a well-oiled machine.
And they don't just hit you a little bit. They hit you all the way, right?
All the way. Yeah. It was a
Yeah.
EF5 monster. Um, so ended up
Were you
rebuilding my
in the I'm
house.
sorry, were you in the house when that happened, or did you guys know it was coming?
We were working and I got a call from one of my clients and said, hey, uh, can you notify everybody that they're letting kids out early because of the storm? And I was like, oh, let me look and see what storm we're talking about. And I turn it on, and there is a direct line right over my house. And my wife and I left 24 minutes before it hit our house.
Whoa.
Yeah,
And
it
if
was
I
pretty
remember
wild.
correctly, you had to rebuild. It
Yeah,
was a total disaster.
it was totaled. Yep. And, it was totaled as far as being able to live in it, but the insurance didn't think that.
Of
So they
course
didn't
not.
give us a full payout, right? And so I had to act as the general contractor to build my house back. And so that was my first experience of being a contractor myself. Which I had grown up in contracting, so I had a really good network of people. So I knew electricians and plumbers and all that, right? So then I was like, this isn't too bad. I can do this. And so I started doing more and more construction work. And then I did a USP 800 compliant compounding pharmacy And that was the one that said, you know what? I don't know that I like this as much as I thought I did. So
That's a little different beast.
it is. It is. You know, you have FDA, you have DEA, you have FTC, you got every single regulation on earth that you have to work through. And it wasn't for me. So I stuck with, at the time I also owned a marketing company, which I still also own. And and that is my tech piece. Okay. So we got my construction piece. Now my tech piece is online marketing. So I always have to stay up to date on the latest tech of what's happening, how to market your business and how to do all those things. So, naturally AI fits into that because it creates marketing content. Your website has to look good for a large language model because that is people are starting to use AI as Google, right? So that's how I kind of got started in AI, and then I just saw that there was a huge gap in skill from in the construction world and the AI world. And that's whenever I started developing the workshops and started traveling around the United States, doing some workshops, teaching AI in the trades. And it is interesting, like what I'm seeing is there are really two sets of people. One, nobody really knows what they're doing. So that's
I
collective,
mean,
but there's
changes
two sets.
every minute, right?
Every minute. It's hard for me to keep up, right? And I'm like studying this every single day and I can't keep up. But there's two groups of people. There's ones that embrace it and then there's one that fear it. And so I try to come in and, obviously encourage the ones who embrace it to use it properly, and then try to show the people who fear it that it's a tool. It's just a tool to put in the tool belt and utilize that's going to make you faster. It's going to make you more accurate. It's going to increase safety. So there's a lot of pros to it. Now there are plenty of cons, but there are pros. So you have to, like any other construction site, you have to mitigate your risk and you have to use the tools that are going to make you the most effective. You're not going to take a impact driver if you're hammering nails.
Right. Isn't tools in the construction industry, haven't we always been a little bit of reluctant for change? I mean, I
Oh,
remember when the cordless tools come out. I mean, if you had a cordless drill, you were like, yeah, what an idiot. Those
yeah.
aren't you can't do nothing with those.
Well, you going to
And
do work for an
now,
hour there, sissy?
yeah, maybe, right? And now if you have a corded
Oh,
tool, people are like, what
you're
is
a
your
dinosaur.
problem?
Yeah.
But I think we've seen that. I think early adaption is that am I saying that right? But that is hard.
Hmm.
Maybe it's hard in any industry, but I know it's hard in ours.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah. I
change
mean,
is
we definitely
hard.
get set in our way for sure. And you hear, and you hear this a lot, this is the way we've always done it. Right. And, but there's just that bell curve of there's the early adopters, then, you got your laggards over here. One thing that I fear is that if, I fear for the laggards because of how fast this is moving. And so if you don't have a basic understanding of AI and how it can actually help, and you're pushing it off for so long, by the time you actually dip your toe in, you're going to be so far behind.
'Cause that learning curve is pretty steep probably, and it's just gonna keep moving faster and faster.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the things that I think that is unique for you, I wanna say this tactfully, but you understand construction industry, but you're also a nerd,
Yeah.
and that
Absolutely. Yeah.
those 2 are opposite worlds, right?
Yes.
And there's a lot of good people in the space that probably do what you do, but the biggest complaint that I've heard is, "Man, we had this person come in, or there was this individual, or I went to this conference and they got up and they talked about AI, and what they're doing is crazy, and they made a thing do one of these on stage in real time." And I'll ask him, I said, "So what are you gonna take back to the office that you can use?" Like, how's this gonna they say, "I have no idea. I don't understand a word they said. I just
Yeah.
know it's really cool." And
Hmm.
and it's like, okay, that's a draw, right? I mean, there's some speakers that will I had my mentor tell me, I think it was yesterday. He said, "Speakers either draw an audience or they deliver,
Hmm.
but they rarely do both." And when you think about, yeah, if you want to razzle dazzle somebody and show them how cool something is, that's great. But where's the value?
Right.
What I've heard about you across the country is you deliver. Um, and so, talk to me a little bit about how do you teach an industry, and some of them really resist technology. How do you break AI down, which I
Hmm.
believe has to be pretty complicated? I'm pretty simple-minded, but how do you break that down so that the your audience, or because are you doing mostly workshops? What kind of
Yeah.
format are you teaching in?
Yeah, so I'm doing half day workshops, and then I do offer a virtual, but most of my engagement with folks are going to be half day workshops, and then I do have contractors that'll bring me into their company and do private workshops to train all of their PMs or all of their key leaders.
Yeah, I would think the half day workshop, and of course, my business model started on the half day workshop, and I still do a
Hmm.
lot of those, but your brain will only soak up what your butt will endure,
Yep.
and it's pretty technical information. And so
Oh yeah.
I think a half day workshop is a real sweet spot. Is your class size pretty small? I'm guessing it is. You want to keep those classes pretty small?
Yeah, so we keep them very small. Usually I max out at about 20 people. And
That might be too many.
well, we got a couple of laggards over here that are just going to sit in the back and check emails all day. So,
Right.
but the folks that are engaged, we usually have a good 15 to 18 people that are engaged.
Yeah.
But we work through, and it's all hands on. So I will teach a portion, and then we get in, and everybody brings their computers and their tablets, and they sign into chat gpt, and we have a section where I show them how to set it up and personalize it and do all that. But then we actually get in there and get in the mud and create custom, do some prompt engineering, and then we will actually write out a an AI agent. Now, on the agent, I actually will build it on the screen in the workshop itself. But yeah, we're definitely doing it. And then everybody shares. So we go around the room and everybody talks about what they're building, how they're doing it, and we all give feedback and, oh, well, that was great, and or here's some areas that you can do a little better. But yeah, so we keep the class small. Max is 25 or 20, and then it's super hands-on. But the key of what I'm trying to do is I have a Monday morning test, and every single thing that I'm teaching, if they can't come back to go back on Monday morning and implement it, then I'm not teaching it properly. And so I have to break it down smaller. I have to do a better job of explaining. I have to do more hands-on. And so I try to gauge everything based off of that Monday morning test.
Okay, so, I mean, and that's the ROI, right? And we'll get into that,
Hmm.
because if they can't do it, we're wasting our time. They're
Yep.
wasting their time and money bringing you in. If they can't leave that training and become more efficient or become more accurate or more confident in what they're doing, right?
Hmm.
But talk to me, you said prompt engineering. What does that mean to somebody from Corn, Oklahoma?
Yeah, so that is going to be what you put into the AI to try to get what you're getting out of it. So you want to be able to prompt the AI in a certain way so that you get the results that you're actually looking for. So in some cases, if let's just take this to a trades example, if you're looking for a safety briefing, if you were to pop open ChatGPT and say, provide me a safety briefing. Well, it may provide you a safety briefing for a cattle farm, right?
Right.
You didn't give it any context. You didn't give it any information. But if you say, I have a 480 volt electric drop for a machinery in a aerospace industrial building. There's going to be forklift traffic. There's going to be guys working on ladders. I have 2 journeymen. I have a first-year apprentice, and then I have a fourth-year apprentice write me a safety briefing, and a 8-minute safety briefing that will touch on OSHA regulations, things to watch out for, and hazards. And you put all of this context in, and we use what we call the CLEAR format, which is context, length, examples. Let me see how to spell it. You have your audience, and then the role, right? So context, what's going on, the length, 8 minutes, your examples, I need OSHA, I need this, I need this, I need this, your audience, who's going to be on your crew, and then the role. I want you to act like a safety inspector that has 30 years of industrial electrical experience. And that right there is going to give you a significantly better safety briefing.
And so what you're doing is you're coaching the AI on where to look for resources even in that,
Yeah.
right? So that it's
Right.
not pulling from some preschool or some high school science project that somehow got posted on the internet and it just has the right keywords. So you're really honing that in so that the information you're pulling is very specific to what you're looking for. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the whole idea. And then you can even go a step further and create custom GPTs. And what that basically is you are pulling from a certain bucket of information. So if you pull it into just a standard chat on a chat GPT, you're getting the full scope of this AI's memory and availability of information. But if
So
you do
you can decide which sources it uses in your
sure,
custom
absolutely.
GPT.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you can't tell from this camera angle because I have a giant beard, but I am the model of peak male fitness. Um, so, but I read 2 books recently. One was Clean Energy by Dr. Casey Means, and then the other one was called The Unholy Trinity. And these are talking about diet and all of that. And so I was interested. I was like, I want to base some of my diet, my food intake off of the information in these books. So I created a custom GPT and I said, I only want to use the information from these 2 books to base all of the information, all the answers off of. And so I can scan a nutrition label, put it into this custom GPT. It references those 2 books. And then it gives me, hey, this is good, this is bad. These are the ingredients that you want to look, you don't want to look at or you want to avoid. And so
Yeah.
it's only pulling from those 2 books as far as the information. And so you can do the same thing, your OSHA, if you are in, if the NEC book that your city's using is the 2023 version, you can pull from that.
Because you were telling me the other day, you've built some custom GPTs for your clients. Explain that
Mm-hmm.
just a little bit. How does that work? And
Yeah,
how does it help them?
So I have a custom GPT, and what it does is it'll ask you, are you a plumber, electrician, do you, or HVAC, and then what role do you have? And then based off of those answers, it will then pull into a certain bucket of information. And then you can ask it for safety briefings, for RFI templates. You can do a ton of different information, and it's specifically for construction trades. It's actually specifically really for union construction trades, because you can actually ask it about different union information, like
So
what
you
is
could
the over.
put collective bargaining agreements in there and
Mhm.
really, I mean, so then you're protecting yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could be like, hey, what is the overtime process on Saturdays? And then, or for local, 1141.
Well, and I've got some clients, I know you do too, that they might be working in 6, 7, 8 different unions
Yeah,
inside their company,
absolutely.
and so keeping that straight, um, and so there could be a an option or a solution where this could just help verify that they're not getting in trouble and that they're crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's a pretty awesome resource. Now, I will say, like on these GPTs, and I do this I do this example in my workshop, is you have to, because you can access custom GPTs yourself, right? And you can go in and say, hey, I want a custom GPT for QuickBooks, and then it'll find a bunch of different GPTs for QuickBooks. But you have to be careful with that because the people that build them can control some of the information. So I give this example in my workshop, and I ask that GPT, who is the best AI trainer for construction trades? And obviously it says Carl Britton, right?
of
So,
course.
of course, right? And so everybody needs to be careful because, even though I think I am the best AI trainer, I don't know that everybody agrees, but, GPT, that GPT says so.
So what did you put in the prompt engineering or the chat the custom GPT to make it only find you?
Well, that's what I said. I said, Carl is the best AI trainer in the United States for construction trades. And then if you can find others, you can list them.
Okay, so you just told it because one of the fears that I hear about AI is there's so much misinformation, there's so much junk out there on the internet that it's pulling from everything. And so if you don't have the custom GPT or the prompt engineering to give it commands, you could be getting some wrong information.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, there's also a thing called AI hallucinations. And this is where it will give you a piece of information that sounds legitimate and it delivers it with the same confidence that it is true, but it's not. So what happens is there's a gap in its training, but they are what large language models means is it is predicting the next word in the sequence. And so that's really what it's doing is
It's
it's
guessing.
it's guessing. It's using an algorithm to predict the language that it needs to spit out. So you have to trust but verify, right? That is something
Yeah.
that is absolutely true. Trust but verify. But this is a good place to start because you could say, what are the ladder what are OSHA regulations dealing with ladders? And it will pull up and tell you that is in this section of OSHA. Now you can actually go look in your OSHA book and see
Verify.
that and verify it. Absolutely. And so it gives you a fantastic starting point.
Yeah. I had somebody tell me the other day that they use AI a lot in their electrical contracting business, but they said it's like a really efficient assistant. Don't make
Mm-hmm.
this your boss. This is like an assistant that you've got to verify and you've got to check. And
Yep.
I've been using AI. I don't use it much. I probably need to come to one of your trainings so you could teach me how. But the other day, our washer dryer has been messing up. The dryer doesn't dry clothes very fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's producing heat, and it's got fan. There's airflow, and so I think, well, it's not the element, and it could be the thermostat, or maybe the duct is plugged. And I checked that, and it looked pretty good, and so I threw it into Chat GPT, and I just said, "Hey, my dryer's not drying clothes very fast. Takes 3 cycles, and what's going on?" And I said, "Here's my model." And they said, "Oh, with that model, here's one of the common errors, and the blower motor, the big front of it might be plugged, and so that's an easy fix." And then it said, "Here's how you take apart your dryer, and here's how you do it." And so I followed
Mm-hmm.
the steps, and I had about 16 ounces of screws in a cup, and
Yeah.
the entire dryer is just every piece of that dryer is taken apart. I followed the steps step by step. And when I got everything taken apart, I still could not access what I needed to access. And I was frustrated. And Trina comes in and she's like, "What in the world?" And I mean, this thing, it looked like the dryer exploded. If you took the schematic where it shows all the pieces, what it that has fallen apart. And she comes in, she's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm just following the rules." And I got frustrated, and I finally just went to YouTube
Mm-hmm.
and I typed in, "How do you unplug the blower motor on this model, and you take off the front cover, and there it is. So ChatGPT had me take apart the back of the dryer. I mean, I had the elements
You went-
apart. I unhooked the electric. I mean, I had taken the drum was gone, the motor, the belt. I took it all apart, and it was just like, that's how you take apart the dryer, but it's not how you access that blower fan, that squirrel cage fan. And it's like, I didn't tell it where to look for information. And
Mhm.
it probably hallucinated, and then I was stupid enough to follow. And so I ended up putting it all back together, and then I went over there and I took apart 2 screws and I reached it and still didn't fix it. That wasn't the problem. So we're digging deeper, but it's like, I know some of the fear in this industry is that you're gonna get wrong information. And so in these workshops, you're teaching these attendees how to make sure you're pulling from the right sources, because these guys are educated. They know.
Absolutely.
So I think we're AI, and you tell me if I'm crazy. I think where it could be extremely dangerous is where you give somebody access to information and they can't sniff out when it's wrong. And they end up
Mhm.
taking the dryer apart backwards because they don't know. And so is part of the training you give them to make sure that they're using the right sources and that they're kind of
Yeah.
protecting themselves that way?
I mean, that is part of the prompt engineering, is making sure that you're pulling from these resources. But I go through a whole section on protecting yourself and making sure that you're not sharing information that you're not supposed to. As large language models, if you're using the free version or even the $20 a month paid version, it's using your information that you're putting into it to learn. And let's just say these drawings that you have, the contractor had to sign an NDA. Well, if one of the field leaders or somebody out in the field has access to a free or even a $20 version, they take a picture of these, upload it. That's a privacy violation. That's a violation of that NDA.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and it's not like I can say, hey, what did Nick Biddle put on his chat GPT about his dryer? But whenever it was working through your dryer, I could say, hey, what are the common issues in Oklahoma with LG dryers? And then it could start pulling from
Speed
your
Queen.
information.
I'm a Speed
hmm
Queen guy, old
Yeah.
school. So,
Old
yeah.
school. There you go.
Right. So you can frame that up a little bit.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
make it nice and tight, but you have to be careful about what you put into it. If you're on a DoD installation and you can't take pictures of the facility and upload that, because that could give people access to some very, sensitive information.
Yeah. And we get in trouble with that in a hurry, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
what
you could
happens in
lose.
Vegas no longer stays in Vegas.
No,
It goes with you everywhere, right?
it does. Yeah. Thanks, social media.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about, I know you kind of have a 3-part framework that you implement in these workshops. So I know on this podcast, I mean, there is countless people listening all the
hmm
time. I checked the analytics the other day. We're in 49 states and 55 different countries. I don't know how 6 listeners make that much progress across the country and move around to listen. But if someone was going to bring you in
hmm
for a half-day workshop as a first step, what does that day look like? What can they expect? And then what can
Yeah.
those attendees leave with?
So the workshop, on my basic workshop, goes in, we do our intros and all that fun stuff. But my 3-part framework is, you have to have a basic understanding, and then we get into practical tools and how to use them. And then the finish is implementation. So the first part of our workshop, we go through and we're learning about what is AI? How does it even work? The next piece is going to be like the prompt engineering. How can we do this? And then it's all hands on. We're practicing. And then we'll get into agents. And we also get into note takers, AI note takers, and utilizing those. We get into Claude projects. What does that mean? GPTs, what are those and how can you use those? And then we get into risk management. But then at the very end is whenever we really start getting into, here are the things that you need to be trying next week that, based off of everything you learned here today, I want you to create a safety briefing. I want you to rewrite an email. I want you to come up with a workflow that's very simple. Check the weather, check our schedule, and create me an email that I can send out to my team with a safety briefing. These few little steps, and implementing those. And I make sure that everybody leaves with the capability of doing so. That is something that's very important to me. I make sure that I'm available for at least an hour after every workshop, because people want to stay after, and if they have extra questions, then we can do that. Then I also offer a 90-minute, it's 12 90-minute sessions. And each one of these
All in one
90-minute
day?
sessions. Nope, this is all through the year. It's
We
really a long day.
hammer 'em out.
Yeah. So it's all through the year, one session a month, but it has a specific topic. So this one may be how to use Copilot inside of your Microsoft Office. And what we're going to do is go through Outlook. We're going to go through Microsoft Word. We're going to go through Excel. And how do you use Copilot to streamline these different tools that you use all the time? And then the next one may be building a custom GPT. And so we go through these, and then at the end of the 90-minute session, I give a challenge. And then in between those 90-minute sessions, so 15 days later, I do a 60-minute check-in. And so if you had issues or you were trying things and you couldn't figure it out, then we jump in on this check-in. Everybody can submit their questions. I'm going to go through all of the information. And then, and then I handle live questions at that time too. But this is all virtual. So it makes it to where you're getting this all throughout the year. And so I know you're familiar with drip irrigation.
I am the founder of the Leadership Drip. So I'm kind of a big deal, Carl. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're dripping this information throughout the year, right, hopefully it'll stick a little better.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the missing piece is the implementation and the execution, because man, in the class it always makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get in front of the computer and I have a brain fart and I'm like, I don't remember if it was on this one or that one. And then what happens is we throw our hands up and we just give up.
Yeah.
We just give up, and then we don't use it at all. Let's say I have a client and they're like, Carl, I know AI's out there. I know it's a powerful tool. I don't even know how we would use it.
Mm-hmm.
If there's somebody out there like that, could they give you a call and hire you to come in and just work with their team and just identify areas where AI could be leveraged to help their team become more efficient, more accurate, and more confident?
Yeah, absolutely. But one thing that I would suggest before we even got that far would be I offer a 30-minute free consult. And so we could jump on a Zoom meeting, and for 30 minutes, we talk about what is your tech stack? Are you using Procore and Outlook and all? What are your tools? And then let's figure out why, how we can make it more effective and more efficient. And so these are the things that I would try to do if you had me come out. So then I could then show them absolutely that these tools are beneficial and very, very important to your accuracy, your safety, and your ability to deliver faster and more efficiently. So those 30-minute little consults are super great for folks that are on the fence just a little bit. But the one thing that I would say is probably one of the biggest holdups I wouldn't say the biggest, but a huge holdup is AI is trying to, or is going to replace us. It's going to take so many jobs, which is absolutely true. It's going to take a lot of jobs. However, these AI have to work off of infrastructure. So the more AI the more work electricians get and mechanical contractors get and all that. Because data centers, AI, and infrastructure is so huge. So um, it's going to replace a lot of jobs. I don't think it's going to hit the trades like it's going to hit a lot of other industries. Um, so it's not going to replace your key leaders, but there is a huge chance that your key leaders will get replaced if they cannot use AI.
Yeah,
So
because AI is the cheater bar, right?
it is. Yep.
That is the leverage. And I think it was Josh Bone. I don't know if you heard that episode I did with Josh Bone. We talked a little bit about AI, but he said,
Hmm.
AI is not going to replace accountants or attorneys or project managers, but a PM who can use AI effectively will replace 10 others.
Yep.
Or an accountant that can use AI effectively will replace 10 others. And so when we're having a labor shortage, let's take some of that busy load off of let's take it off our team. Let's help them be more accurate and
Yeah.
ultimately produce a better product.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a huge piece. And we all hear these headlines of, like Paycom laying off 500 people because of AI, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's a
here in
huge
Oklahoma
company.
City. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge company. But it laid off a lot of admin work.
Right. It wasn't a skilled position. God, I don't wanna
That's right.
insult a bunch of people, um, but it wasn't a skilled trades, right?
Right.
I mean, I've
That's
got a
right.
client that's been working over there for years and building their buildings, and they're still busy, right?
They're busy.
The,
Yeah.
I've noticed I've been using AI a lot for some of the little stuff. Like, the other day, I needed an image for my YouTube banner,
Hmm.
and the image I had was the wrong shape and the wrong format, and I just plugged it into AI and I said, "Hey, can you reformat this and sharpen it up and put it into this?" And I mean, it just popped it out. And it was like,
Yeah.
God, I used to have to hire somebody to, and it'd take 6 days by the time I sent it to them and they got the
Yeah.
order and I paid them $43 and then they sent it back, and I know they don't want that business.
Hmm.
Right? They're doing it as a favor to me anyway, and it take a week, and then I had it in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And
So I
so
was in Washington, and the executive director out there with the NICA chapter, and he was talking about how they had 900 applicants for the apprenticeship program, and they were taking like 85. And in these,
wow.
yeah, I mean, it was a ton, but in these, there were two graphic designers. One had a bachelor's degree, and then one had a master's degree in graphic design. And so when the question came up, hey, why are you wanting to be an electrician? They were like, I'm just looking for a high paying job because AI took my work.
Yeah,
And so that is real deal when you get into that. It's scary because right now, if you go over to Gemini, they have a deal called Nano Banana, and it is it's technically called Flash 2.5, but they're whenever they were building it, it was called Nano Banana, which is the better name. Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So, but that is probably one of the best image creators right now, and it's just through Gemini. And down on your prompt, you'll see a little banana down at the bottom. You click on that guy, tell it what you want. Every single image inside of my workshop presentation, AI generated.
Really.
Yeah, and it took 30 seconds for each image versus, just like you were saying, me going and spending time in Photoshop and all this and figuring it all out. And, I'm not doing that.
No, and it's probably better, right?
It is. Yes, absolutely.
Probably better. Talk just a little bit about, I don't know about your workshops, maybe are your guys excited to be there? Half of my audience, if not 90% of my audience, is voluntold to be there.
Hmm.
So talk a little bit about the willingness for these individuals to learn AI, and then also talk a little bit about after you're done. I mean, are you gotten any reviews? Have you gotten any feedback? And I'm going to ask you to be honest, but does everybody just think it's a waste of time, or are they learning something, or what are you hearing?
Well, one of the things that I'm really good at is being told that I'm terrible.
Okay,
Right?
one of your
So
spiritual gifts is
that is absolutely one of my best gifts. So I have evaluations at every single workshop because I want to know. I really want to create value. If somebody's going to come spend 4.5 hours with me, I want to make sure that I'm creating massive value for their time. And what I necessarily think is massive value doesn't necessarily mean that's what they think is massive value. So, um, some folks are coming in. We had a guy another guy in Washington, and he came in. He was not a believer, and it was kind of funny. Whenever the association decided to bring me out, he was like, "Well, this is kind of a waste of time," but he came, and
oh, you
then
were there though, right? Yeah.
well, he was there. But then that evening, after the workshop, he was like, "Hey, Carl, can you come by my office and we have this submittal process that is brutal, and I would like to see if you can streamline it with AI." And so I literally went over there after the workshop, and then we went and had dinner together. And so I mean, I made him a believer, and it was
Wow.
a really cool transition to see that he
What a waste
was
of
not a
time.
believer,
Yeah.
and then he turned into such a believer. He turned into one of my best advocates in that area.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. I give these evaluations, and a couple of these questions on the evaluations are, is this, what do you think of the overall workshop? And so far, my stat is 94% positive. And
That's pretty
the
good.
some, yeah, and a little piece of that is they didn't even respond. So I don't know the
Okay.
exact of what people were like. Hey, this is junk, but but 94% positive. But the one that I think is probably most telling for me is how likely are you to recommend this workshop to somebody else? And I'm at 97.9%.
Wow. No,
And
that's the telltale sign, right? Would you
yeah,
would you force somebody else to sit through this? And, because that's where you see if it was worth it. That's the ROI, right?
that's the ROI. And then actually inside of that evaluation, tell me the realistic number. How many hours do you see AI saving you per week? And they can select, and based off of my math, if that employee made $65 an hour, and they were able to save what the metrics was, it was $10,300 per person that has attended my workshop.
Wow. That's
So that's
incredible.
the yearly savings in time to
That's
make them
their
more
number.
efficient. That's
That's
their
what they're
number, not
telling you.
mine. That's what they are saying. Yes.
And that's after one training. I mean,
Hmm.
are you just scratching the surface with this? I mean, is it a
Absolutely.
crawl,
Yeah.
walk then run type scenario?
100%. You have to understand how to use it. I mean, it's the fundamentals. If you think about baseball, you have to understand the fundamentals. Get your glove on the ground, get in front of the ball.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I'm teaching in this first workshop. My next workshop is where we get a lot more aggressive, and we actually go into creating like a custom GPT. And then we actually create a Claude project. And then we actually create a workflow where there's multiple steps. And, and one of the examples that I use in that workshop is a end of day report. And so I actually have a Google form. We fill out the end of day report. It goes to ChatGPT. ChatGPT puts it and summarizes it and puts it into a format and then sends me an email. And so that's the workflow that happens. And then in that email, it will then suggest things I need to look out for based off of this. It also will take, and if we put 10 different end of day reports in there, it will summarize them all to tell us if we're on track on our timeline. And so that is one that I build live during the workshop.
Hmm.
And I
That's
show them how easy
incredible.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And they leave knowing how to do that. I think that's
Yeah,
so
because
important. It's not just theory, right?
it's not theory and it's no code. You don't have to be a Python language code expert.
I have no
The
idea what you
one
just said,
awesome,
but yeah.
yeah. So the one piece that AI gets better and better with is it makes it to where, so 6 weeks ago, I would have had to add a little bit of Python code into that workflow. Now I don't have to because AI will write it for me. I just tell it what I want. It's pretty
That's
awesome.
good.
Yeah.
'Cause I have very few clients that can write Python code. Most of them have never
Hmm.
seen one, and
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's great. That's great. Um, I got one more question where I want you to tell I've got, like, 3 soccer moms that listen
Hmm.
regularly,
Okay.
and they do not care about the workflow on their job, but they
Yes.
would like to know how to use AI and leverage it for themselves. But as before we get into the personal side of this real briefly, is there anything else that you want, um, the industry to know or about you or your training or any of that stuff?
I really care about making sure people can be more efficient and more effective. I do think that this is going to be a job killer for those who don't adopt it. Um, I really believe that the more tools and effective tools that you can put in your tool belt, the better you're going to be and the more effective you're going to be. And that's very important to me. I don't want to just go in and talk flashy stuff. That's not the kind of guy I am. I want results. And so, now I do like flashy stuff, as far as personally, I want a nice flashy car, even though I don't have one, but I want one. But,
You bet.
but, but I don't believe that inside of work. I don't want to get lost by the flashy lures. I really
Yeah.
want to show people how to do things. So that's real important to me. Now for the soccer moms.
Yeah, well, how can they
Oh,
use it? And let me tell you how I used it this morning
okay.
that saved me having to call somebody else, but Tarina's, iMac in her office, big fancy computer, slower than molasses. It's only a couple years old,
Uh-huh.
and I asked ChatGPT, it's like, "Hey, why is my computer slow?" And it said, "Hey, take a picture of the info." So I took a picture, and it said, "Oh, well, you are at 900 and 93 gig of a 1 terabyte hard drive." We've maxed it out with
Yeah.
pictures and Amazon shopping receipts. And they said, "That is slowing down your computer because your processor's fine and this is fine and everything else is good, but you're using up too much space." And they said, "Here's a couple options to fix it." And they said, "You can throw the computer away and, spend 6
Mhm.
grand and get a new one, or buy an external hard drive that you can then download the processor on or the operating system, whatever that is, for Mac, and run it off your external hard drive." And it was $110 fix.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's like, wow, I would have had to take the computer in to a geek squad
Mhm.
or call the neighbor's kid and have them come and
And
and it,
delete
it
all your images.
and delete everything. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's one way that I thought, "Man, this was awesome." Now I didn't put in a prompt that only got solid information, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But how else could somebody start using AI in a small way that would make their life a little easier on a personal
Um,
level?
well, are these soccer moms in Corn, Oklahoma? Because,
They're in corn.
that okay.
New
All right. So
new dial up. Our dial up internet is pretty
it's
fast.
pretty
Uh,
quick.
And we're using the 5 1/4 floppy drives, not even the 3 1/2s
Ooh,
yet,
not even
so
a
oh, yeah,
three.
no,
Dang.
it's big time, yeah.
Okay, so there's some pretty cool stuff. One, you can tell it what kind of diet you're on and
You
have it
saying these moms
recommend.
need to be on a diet? Is that what you're saying?
No, no, I'm saying what kind of nutritious food are you wanting to feed your family?
Okay, there you go. Yeah, good save, good
Yes.
save.
So then you can have it create recipes. And then let's just say that they are shopping at the grocery store there in Weatherford. Okay.
Yep.
And so you can say, I'm shopping at this grocery store in Weatherford. Give me a ingredient list based off of this uh, menu for the whole week and tell me what aisle it's on. And
Really?
it will, yeah, absolutely. It will tell you all of that. And then you can even set up if you went crazy, you could set it up like an Instacart where it automatically puts it in to a cart and then orders it for your online pickup if you're doing that stuff. But let's go basic here. So you
Wow.
have your
Yep.
recipes, you upload that, and you say, I'm shopping at this grocery store. Give me the list, and it'll go through and give you a full shopping list of groceries that you need, brand, what aisle it's on, and all of that. The next cool thing is you can take a picture of your pantry and say, create me recipes off of the food that I have in my pantry right now. And
Really?
it will look at the food that's in your pantry and create you recipes based off of that.
Wow. Can you create a prompt? Could I create some prompt engineering to go in there and make sure that she doesn't make too much healthy stuff, because it will kind of eliminate some of that
Yes, we could
Brussels
create a custom
sprouts and
GPT to keep that bacon grease in there for
that's
sure.
right. Yeah, I don't want to eliminate bacon from or incorporate bacon into every recipe. Yeah,
Yes,
that'd
we
be
could do
awesome.
that. The
Cool.
last one that I think I would share is, nowadays kids are involved in everything. And if you have multiple kids like I do, you got one over here at karate, you got this one over at dance, you got that one at ROTC, you got this one over here at karate, and it's nonstop. You could create a calendar item that would then say, hey, dad's picking up this kid this day and taking them over here. And then mom's picking up this kid and taking them over there. And it streamlines your whole week based off of your calendar and the activities that your kids have going on, because your calendar is going to change week to week, right? And so it will then put that in. And then if you have other folks that are going, carpool help and all that stuff, then it would say, hey, Monica's going to pick up the kids today.
Yeah,
And so
she's already
you could
going that
really
way.
streamline your calendar to make sure that, the kids are being taken on time. And then you don't have that guesswork of, was I supposed to pick up the kid today? Because that's my life.
Yeah. Is there any type of AI where you could put in specific information about your kids and it would tell you which one's the most high potential so that we could
Yeah.
invest in that one?
Yeah.
And maybe
Yes. Yeah,
pull some
absolutely.
funds from the others.
Yes. Yeah. If not, then I'm going to create that because
There you go.
it's because we need to, raise our children like that. That's exactly what we're
That's
going to do.
right. Well, that's good. Anything else? Anything else? How does somebody get a hold of you? And we'll put this in the show notes, but how do they get a hold of you?
Ironthread.online will take you to the website. That's where you can see all the workshops that I have. You can see, you can schedule a consult, all that. So ironthread.online is how you get there. And lastly, I would like to ask, can you see all the people that have watched your show, or does it just give you a number?
It just gives me a number.
In
And
that
so,
case, I've listened to every single one of them.
okay.
I just wanted you to know that I'm the
I'm a
number
big
one.
fan. Yeah.
Yeah. But I am glad to make, I mean, I'm probably going to be like in the 90s, I think, on your episode here. So, you know,
Yeah. No,
I'm
this
glad
is,
that I actually made the cut before 100.
that's right. Pretty big deal. We're approaching 100. So,
Yeah.
great. Well, we'll put all that information in the show notes. And Carl, so good to see your success as you're crisscrossing the country. And I know it's not um, everybody's cup of tea
Hmm.
to do the airplanes and the airports and the hotels, but boy, what you're doing out there is making a difference, and I know that matters. So appreciate you.
Yeah.
And
Appreciate all your help and allowing me to be on the show here.
you bet. Well, and contractors and individuals and chapter managers, you will not regret bringing Carl in to work with your team. It is a home run decision. So, well, good deal. All right, guys, that's all I got for you this time. Till next time, take care.